welcome back to Bourbon and Bullshit. Today I have the pleasure and honor of, recording directly downtown, Orlando Thornton Park area at Soco with Chef Greg Richie. How are we doing today, man?
I'm doing really well. Thanks so much for having me on your show. I'm pretty pumped up about this.
Oh, I'm excited. One, when we connected online, the moment I knew we were going to be good friends, is like, hey, do you have a preference in bourbon? You said, yes. Cool. That's exactly what I need to know from a person. So really excited to get you on. You've lived a fantastic life. It's something I really want to get into. So for those listening at home, you're down here. You've been in Florida for now, 15 years?
24 years.
24 years. Jeez. All right. So give us a spark notes real quick about who you are, what you do here, and how long you've been in we're from Soco.
Right. Well, we just actually celebrated our 10th anniversary here at Soco. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll be doing some celebrating shortly. Have some friends together to help us do that. About Soco, we're Southern contemporary cuisine, and so that's basically elevated, kind of modernized Southern food. That we just kind of play within those parameters. Not that we won't sometimes have traditional stuff, but we get some room to work with.
That's pretty awesome, man. And so, this is a long time coming because I had to do my research on you and see a lot of things you did. I really want to dig into it. One of the first questions I like asking everyone, so we can get to know you a little bit, is what is your deathbed cocktail? Yeah. I know it's a tough one, and it can be anything you want. I've heard someone tell me a Natty Light or Bush Light. Someone told me a shot of Rumpelmintz. So.
That is so hard. I don't know that I've found my deathbed cocktail yet. I don't know if I'm ready to commit to that. But I think within the parameters of what I would be looking for is something that have to be, I love cocktails that have to be balanced, and probably something shaken with acid.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like even when you think about food and you're pairing like a wine with food, you want something that's got a lot of acid, and so it makes it go with, and so it kind of makes it crave worthy where you keep drinking it.
That's true.
And so, honestly, what I drink more of than anything is like a neat whiskey, but I think deathbed cocktail. Maybe circle back around, and I'm going to keep thinking about it.
All right, I'll circle right back around and make sure that I always like that answer. You'd be surprised the people that, especially when I think about chefs, bartenders, they might not want. They want something simple. They're like, I'm just gonna get the job done. So
what you said deathbed cocktail, but if you said deathbed food, I have been thought about that one, and it would be my mother's pork chop casserole. So all the fancy food I could have said that's the one I would go to for a food dish. So
tell me why.
I think because it's just comforting.
Yeah.
I think mom made it. It's something that I love, and I still ask her to make it. When we get together and we visit, and so I think that would be.
That's a really good answer. I think to your point, those fond memories, the food. There's something I joke about. The three universal languages is food, alcohol, and music. And there's always that nostalgic feeling where you can go back to a time of that was a perfect time, a perfect moment. And what's usually your anchor is one of those three things. You think of that party, that drink, that food. So
you're super right. And, but then again, and going back to those nostalgic times, I wasn't drinking cocktails, so that's why it's harder, I think, for me to do that.
Yeah.
A beer maybe because I can go back a little further in time.
Sweet that. My mom didn't know. We had. It's funny you say that because I also thought about my deathbed meal. Or something that I always think about, a great happy moment, and it's like the simplest pork shoulder, been made for my mom, and I realized it brought me back to my favorite Thanksgivings with my family. It brought those great moments, so it's kind of interesting when you talk to people about what mattered the most. So love that answer, man. Oh.
Cheers,
cheers, man. Oh, well, also, guys, to anyone listening, we started the day with drinking some Elijah Craig as a good baseline spirit. As most of us agree, Heaven Hill could barely do any wrong.
I haven't found it if they have.
Yeah. They ran out of larceny when I was in there. That was the only time I was
How dare they?
Yeah, the balls. They're like, we're out of glass. I was like, the audacity. You could be dealing with a shortage.
The barrel proof, right?
Yeah, that's exactly the one. Mm-hmm. And they said that, because I did the whole bottle your own bottle experience there.
Super cool.
And me and my fiance, because we love Louisville, we went through the whole process. Oh my God, I can't wait to bottle my own larceny. It's like, that's the one thing we're out of. Damn it.
Have to go back.
Yeah, of course. We're going back, it'll be our third time.
Nice.
So tell me more about, kind of your origin story. Where did you start off? Where did you end up falling in love with Cuisine, or did it start with cooking?
So yeah, we can go way back then to where I think it was like my 13th birthday that I said, okay, mom and dad, I want to be a chef.
Mhm.
That's what I said I wanted to do. And even back then, my birthday parties would like kind of center around food. So maybe I think at that 13th birthday, we had all our friends, my friends, we went and had the party at a pizzeria, and everybody made their own pizzas.
Okay.
And so that was kind of cool. And if you go back a little further in the fifth grade,
Mhm.
no, not fifth, it was sixth grade, we did a how-to report at school, how to whatever. I did how to make homemade bread. And because I'd been baking bread with my mother, my grandmother, my granddad, and so uh, that was a report most kids in sixth grade weren't doing.
Yeah, they're not.
You know?
That's why I look. You were baking bread.
Yeah. So and it's funny that we still use that bread to this day in my family. It was like our family potato roll recipe.
You use a family. That is
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Also, this has been in your generation. Is this a generational thing in love for cooking, or is it just something you are like a stand-up?
I'm the only one that's done it professionally, but my mom and even my granddad and on my both sides were good cooks. Yeah. So good cooks in the family. Nobody else decided to go the harder route for a living.
Yeah, as glorious as it might seem, I know it's a lot of hard work. I have
Mhm.
several friends that are in the industry. I have friends that are executive chefs out in South Carolina. They're all just in the service industry, servers, line cooks, waitresses, like everything like that. Like one's a host now. One was a host now. She's a manager out in one of the Maggiano's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a chain.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she's the one in Universal Students. And
Those are huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
She said it's huge, it's massive, there's always work, there's always something nonstop. So the service industry is always something like hard work. So you decided the hard path was for me around sixth grade when you did some bread.
And then my first job, I was 15, maybe 14. I can't remember which. I started working at a little local pizzeria, Mamma Mia's in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and I would get a ride to work, and I remember I can't wait till I get my own car and I can drive myself to work because I had to get a ride to work. So
Yeah.
But then I worked through high school, and it was known that by the time I was graduating high school, I was definitely going to culinary school.
Yeah.
And I went to Johnson and Wales University in Charleston, which is not any longer there. And then that was it. That was nonstop ever since. So that was it. I graduated school. I went back to Atlanta, where I grew up mostly. And I don't want to date myself too much on this public record like this.
No one's gonna judge
Yeah,
you.
I mean,
You're wise. Experienced.
so I moved to Hawaii, and I worked with Roy Yamaguchi at his original restaurant there in Hawaii Kai. And I was there for a little over 4 years, almost 5. And then
Working with him must have been a really intense, but
he's super talented and legendary in the culinary world. And he's got he's kind of a partner culinary wise. Gordon is also great mentor. But I was 10 years into the culinary field before I moved there and started working for us. And then funny thing is they offered me a sous chef position after a couple months of being there, and I was like, oh, really, thanks. But my initial plan was only to go to Hawaii for a year and then move back to Atlanta. I thought I was just going for a little bit of fun, a little bit of experience, moving back. And I turned it down. I said, well, thanks, chef, but I'm moving back to Atlanta, so it's not working.
Yeah.
And all the staff thought I was crazy. They said, do you understand the opportunity? I said, no, I mean, yes. Anyway, then about a month or two later, I'm like, maybe I am stupid. There's no other James Beard winning chefs offered me sous chef jobs in Atlanta. Where am I going back to? I don't have anything. So I told him, again, I'd like to reconsider and stay. And so that all happened. And then Roy started expanding throughout the country. And this was in the 90s, people. So
still not dating ourselves. Don't worry about
no,
it.
it's too late for that. So they said, where would you like to go? They gave me a couple opportunities of where they're going to be opening up shop. I said Orlando. And so that's how I ended up getting here. So we opened up that Roy's in 2000. And so I was the chef partner for that Roy's in 2000. And that was 24 years ago. So, I left there for a while, and I actually left Roy's to open Soco. But it didn't, the first place or two that I had picked out didn't work out.
Okay.
The real estate deals fell through, this, that, the other. And then along came the real estate bubble collapse, and then the economy fell all to pieces. And so then I ended up and I worked for Emeril Lagasse, and I ran his restaurant Chop Chop for about 5 years. And in the meanwhile, we never forgot about Soco, because it was kind of what this was kind of a culmination of my life experiences, my cooking experiences growing up in the South. And yet, I'd worked in Hawaii and I'd done the Asian fusion with Roy's and stuff. And so that was, for so long, it became part of my culinary backbone. And so anyway, the opportunity for this place to come up, the location that Soco's in now. And so, we started getting that done, and it took us about a year to build it. But yeah.
Awesome. So this has been a dream. This place has been a dream of yours for over 10 years.
It was the goal. Definitely over 10
20
years, closer to 20. Yeah.
Jeez. All right.
Yeah. If you go back in time, the first time you could see Soco written on some notes or something would have been 2007.
That is awesome, man. This is a beautiful thing. This is more beautiful than I realized, because you pursued that dream for over 20 years and got it. And you are a staple, man. Everywhere I see you online, you guys are doing massive things, the partnerships, even charity stuff. The events are fantastic. We guys, for those who haven't been here, I looked over the menu. I'm about to gain 30 pounds, and the cocktails are great too.
We have a great bar program. We've always considered that there's the bar program, the wine program, all that, it doesn't play second fiddle to the food. It's just as important. And in fact, my thoughts are that, alcohol is just liquid food.
Yeah.
And so, it's all about flavors. And so when it comes to building cocktails, it's just like building a dish of food. The flavors have to match, they have to balance, they have to come together, they have to make sense. And so crafting a cocktail for me is the same process, and just as important as crafting an appetizer in the kitchen.
That's I can't even add to that, because that's a perfect statement. This is 100% true. You think about the balance, you think about the flavors, you think about the mood, the setting, everything. And especially when you're thinking about your restaurant industry, understanding that these cocktails have to also pair well with some of the dishes and not come off terrible afterwards. That's probably a lot of thought. You can't put something that has a very swinging one-way flavor profile and then something that might offset it and make it seem awful afterwards, right? Or I imagine. I'm not an expert. I'm here as a just podcast host.
Well, I think everything has to be properly balanced in its own context. So any drink on our cocktail menu has to stand on its own as a well-crafted thing. And then same with any food dish or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, some things may naturally go better with another, but hopefully you don't find anything. I mean, sure, I could probably find something that's not the world's best pick, but you're not going to be miserable because your drink is still good and your food's so good.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, you have nothing but positive reviews. I didn't see a single thing.
Don't look too hard. There's always some jerk off out there that wants to say something.
To be fair, I don't work in retail anymore. There's always a Karen. There's always someone that's pissed off about something. So I think there's a little bit of this all. Yeah. I worked retail for 23 years. So to me, it's I know what those are. When you can start reading a complaint, and it's you're an asshole.
Oh, they lead right off.
They lead off with, I'm an asshole. In one way, shape, or form.
I went one time to Charlie Trotter's restaurant in Chicago, and some friends of mine, we went up there. It was for my buddy's 40th birthday, and we had the chef's table in Charlie Trotter's kitchen. And Chef Trotter was there working. It was the first time I'd met him. And it was actually when the Cubs were in the playoffs and one year. And he was like, the Cubs, they're heading to the World Series. But they're probably only winning 400, batting 400 or winning that many percent. But as a restaurant, you can't do that. You have to be 1,000%.
Yes.
And so imagine as a restaurant if a batter hits 350, they're amazing. But if you're hitting 350 in the restaurant business, you're screwed. So it was just a thing that he said, and we were all just like, yeah, that's a good, great point. You really got to hit it. And back to the Karens, some of those Karens, if you give them a 95%, they're going to find 5% to complain about.
Yes, and it's true. I think restaurants, especially now, there's social media and stuff like that. There's such that you have to be on. You can't really have days off. Nothing could be slipped because there's always a Karen. There's always someone that had a quote unquote bad experience. I think I'm in a minority where I'm willing to give places 3 shots, regardless. And it's because other than if you poison me, Like, oh well, I almost died. I can't go back to you. I'm sorry, but I think like hey, everyone's allowed to have a bad night, and I think it's because I've been in it. I'm so surrounded by people in the industry that it's kind of led to that. But I doubt that that's a standard that anyone else has to.
You're pretty forgiving. I mean, sure. I mean, I like to take the whole event in the context. I mean, was the service a little off, but the food was good? Okay. Was the food a little off, but the food was really good? And so what? But if everything just sucks, well,
I'm not going back.
I mean, there's so many places to go to that I haven't been to yet. It's challenging. I'm not going to go online and shit on them though. I'll keep my opinions to myself.
That's not something I do.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't complain.
Like, the people that are just like live to go to Yelp. Come on, like they're more likely to only say something bad.
Yeah, I think that's like I said because working where I did, where the customer service is like number one. I'm like, you can't keep every one of these motherfuckers happy. Short of me giving them the shit for free and then delivering it to their house, I can't keep these people happy at all times. It is what it is. But I want to go back to the Southern contemporary cuisine, like the philosophy and trying to replicate that like feel good Southern home cooking. That grounded in like your time in Atlanta and working out there and living out there and emulating that. What would you say was like the dish that you're like, this has to be a part of it coming up? Like whatever my vision is, this is 100% going to be something I'm adding.
Well, I'm not sure. Are you saying did I see a dish out in the wild?
No, that you had or you experienced.
I don't think that happened. It wasn't like that.
It wasn't like that.
More what happened was I sat down with intention.
Okay.
And I wrote my initial menu like very, very intentionally. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, I want to have a well balanced menu, just like the dishes. So we want to have the fish, the seafood, the meat, the pork, the chicken, all the different things. So balanced in that way. And then each dish, would have to be Southern contemporary. And so, like take chicken and dumplings. My Soco style chicken and dumplings. Chicken and dumplings is very Southern. If you hear about it, my grandparents would make chicken and dumplings, but it's nothing like what we're serving. So it's chicken and dumplings, mostly a name, but it's actually it's a dumpling in that it's like a lobster dumpling. It's kind of got Asian nuances to it. There is chicken and there's like a soy butter sauce and things like that. And that is a dish that's still on our menu today. But so 10 years it's been a signature dish, and there's only two things that have never come off the menu. That's one of them.
What's the other one?
The other one is kind of just like our fresh catch, and the fresh catch does change. But the style of the dish in which it's a pecan crust. It's pecan crusted, and it has this local rice from Jupiter, Florida, and a little lemon butter sauce. And it's very simple. Mm-hmm. It highlights the pecans, which would be Southern to me. I feel that's a very Southern nut. Mm-hmm. And local fish, like tonight it's like a red snapper. Oh. A couple of days or tomorrow it might be halibut or something.
Sure.
But always
very intentional.
Right. So when you ask about a dish that had to be on the menu, it was more like is it Southern contemporary in concept? Okay. And then I would craft it around that.
Okay. Awesome. Guys, we were about to Chef is sharing a Heaven Hill product, the Old Fitzgerald 10.
This one is a 10-year. Yep. Yeah. That's right. And it just came out in spring of 2024.
This is fantastic. So that's some proof on this, just for them.
It's always bottled in bond.
Yep. It's 100 proof. It's beautiful. I love the bottle. It's a beautiful decanter.
Yeah, it's real nice, right?
Cheers, Chef. Thank you for having us. Guys, we're gonna take a very quick. Oh, that was really fucking good.
Isn't it? Man, came right after that Elijah Craig, and of course their family. God.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that delightful? This is my first sip of it.
This is your first time trying it?
Absolutely. Yep. I wanted to sip it with you.
I've never had it either. Cheers, the first time.
I mean, my first time with this Old Fitz.
I've had not had Old Fitz 10. I've had 19 because it was at the Heaven Hill distilleries. Yeah. Outside of that, I haven't had 10. I haven't been able to secure that or any of the other years. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Keep the lights on, and we'll be right back. Meanwhile, Hi guys, we are back, and we were just really thoroughly enjoying this Old Fitzgerald, and Chef did drop some knowledge on me about. Do you want to mind repeating about?
No, okay. I mean, I'm not an authority on this, but I was just mentioning that Old Fitzgerald, they have 2 releases a year. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure, and they change. Yeah. So they may be a 10-year one time, or a 17-year, or 8 or 9 year.
Yeah.
But one thing about the old Fitzgerald line is they're always bottled in bond, which means they're always going to be 100 proof.
Yeah.
And it's always in this beautiful decanter, which is
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It is gorgeous. We talked about it and continued drinking. We almost forgot we were doing a show, so I apologize for those who might hear us a little bit more slurred. But it's a fantastic bottle. I really do appreciate you sharing it with us. I did want to talk to you, especially in your profession in the culinary scene. And Orlando's become one of those kind of booming areas for like specific different kinds of foods and pho and all this kind of random cuisine that's coming through, mixology bars, cocktail houses, all these things. And we've seen kind of a boom where we're moving away from like franchises. Yes, franchises are like a staple, especially when you think of yourself as a tourist area. Someone wants to go to somewhere that they know they're familiar with. That's why franchises are profitable, right?
Sure.
You walk into a Chick-fil-A, it's always going to be the same Chick-fil-A.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on like how big Orlando's culinary boom has been taking place?
It's amazing. It's wonderful. I got here, like I said earlier, in 2000, and back then, outside of Disney, or hotels or something like that, there weren't a lot of big good restaurants. But now you can throw a rock and hit a great restaurant, in any direction, especially in the different little areas. We're in Thornton Park, but all the little boroughs are almost, you got those 50, you've got, Audubon, you've got, just all these little areas, neighborhood districts, and they've all got great restaurants in them.
Yeah. Do you feel like that drives like, hey, I need to step up your game, or how does it?
Yeah, it definitely does. Back when, when I came to town, like I was kind of saying, there wasn't so much that stuff. And so Roy's became a major player, in the culinary scene. 10 years after that, you've got like, there was like the Primo, and people that came from Primo started spreading out everywhere and that were underneath that umbrella, and they started opening up places. And now you've got the next generation of cooks that came up underneath those guys, and they're opening up restaurants. And so you can see like the proteges of talent come through generationally in 24 years, like I have seen. And I guess you call me an OG of this culinary scene. And so it's what's kind of funny now is like, these younger people, they don't even know who I am because I'm so old. They're like, I'm not relevant to them. But if you go to the older crowd, well, they're like, oh yeah, we know Greg. But the point being, we definitely have to stay relevant by putting up great food. Mm-hmm. We might not have the social media presence of some of these other people. We might not have some of the sizzle and flash that's going to come with just who's new and hot. Yeah. But what we do know is that after 10 years, we're still putting forth great food, great drinks, great service.
You're flourishing still.
But every time there's a new restaurant open, they're like, man, okay, for one thing, they do pull infrastructure from the culinary community. So there's going to be a little bit less cooks and servers and management people, bartenders, all that to go around. So we have to develop more. You have to develop more staff. You have to take some kids or people that didn't have a lot of experience, and you have to give them the experience, and then you have to retain them. So it's this whole kind of a process that's ever evolving. But every week that we go on, there's going to be a new restaurant pop up, and we have to always be mindful that we have to be on our game, and you have to kind of reinvent yourself. And as far as Soco goes, we're only reinventing to a point. We're not going to become not Southern contemporary, but we will continue to come up with new dishes, cool dishes. Hopefully this very week, in about 2-3 days, I'll have a new brunch menu that'll come out, and there's some cool stuff on it. Yeah, and it still fits conceptually within what is Soco, but fun, neat things. Yeah, and then another week later, we'll have our dinner menu will change, and so. Always fun and exciting, but staying true to who we are. That's awesome.
Still, yeah. I think I can say it because I'm not in the industry, but when something's fast and flashy, I don't always think it'll last. I think there's something about consistent good food that's not just like the hot commodity right then and there that I love, I enjoy. I think that you see that holistically. You've fully developed the concept. You fully developed who you guys are, and you stay true to it and not try to just hope. Yeah, you evolve, but you don't change the core. The core values are what makes you unique. And I think in our previous episodes when we were talking about that experience and how you connect to the people behind the story, behind the building, it makes loyal customers. I'll use the courtesy as well. Like I always use it as a prime example because if you moved it once and they change concept, blah blah.